Hi, I'm back with another flower demo, and this time we're changing it up a little bit. We've done a lot of paper. This week we're doing a ribbon flower. It's a gathered ribbon flower, and it's basically just a piece of ribbon, a needle and thread, and a pair of scissors. That's all you need. Okay, so I've cut a piece of ribbon about 12 inches. It takes about 8 to 12 inches of ribbon, but it really depends on how gathered you want it to end up. So start with a longer piece than you need, and then you can always trim it. So I've threaded my needle, and I've doubled up my thread because when we gather at the end, you're going to pull tight, and you don't want your thread to break. Your whole ribbon flower will fall apart. So I've just doubled my thread and knotted it. And then I'm just going to start at one end of my ribbon, and pretty close to the edge, I'm going to do a running stitch. So we'll start from the back here and come up, and then a running stitch is just going to go in and out, in and out. And this, how far apart your stitches will really kind of determine how many ruffles you have. But I've been doing most of these between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch long. And I'm happy with those results. So you can kind of play around with it and see how long you want your stitches. So you're going to stitch a few and then pull your thread through. Give yourself some more room. And just continue in and out. See it again. In and out, in and out. And really, the way you can tell when your flower is done is by pulling and gathering and just looking at it and saying, okay, that looks like, how gathered I want my flower. If not, you can keep stitching. Let me show you the difference. This is the same ribbon, same stitch length, but this one I've done a longer piece of ribbon so that when I've gathered it, there's tons of gathers. This one's a lot shorter, and so it's just a different look. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to do a couple more and then call it good. And I'm using a quilting thread just because it's really nice, and it's like a hand quilting thread. It's really nice and sturdy, but any all-purpose thread would work just fine. Okay, so when you get to the point where you want your flower to be done, you're going to turn it back over and take the side that's knotted and pull that out a little bit because you want to have some little tails here. And what you're going to do is tie a knot. And the first tie, you're going to pull and cinch that back up so it's really tight, how you want it. And then when you've got it tight, I'm going to see if you can kind of hold it like that and tie your knot a couple more times. Tie a couple of square knots to get it really tight so it's not going to fall apart. If I was doing a looser flower, I might stitch up the sides. I have an example here. Okay, so this one is a lot looser. It's not as many gathers, so I've actually stitched up the ends. Just a little running stitch on the back there, because otherwise you would see the ends. But when you've got it gathered more, even this one here, I didn't stitch it because you don't need it. These ends just get kind of lost in the gathers and you don't even see them. And especially if you're going to attach this to a card or a scrapbook page, you'll never notice. So don't take the time to stitch it if you can't even see it. Okay, so this one's been tied a couple of times, so I'm going to just trim my thread, and then I'm going to trim the ribbon. And just give yourself a little bit on the end there so that you make sure it doesn't show from the other side. See how nicely that just kind of hides itself? And then to finish it off, I like to put a brad or a button in the center. You can also layer and do another little flower on top so that it's got a little more dimension. Here's some samples. So these three, I've just stitched the button in the center when I was finished. I just kept my needle and thread out. Stitched it a few times. That's all it took. This one has a fabric covered brad in the center. Those are really easy to do too. Stick your brad in and you're done. So next week, don't miss us for 3 flowers in one demonstration. If you're in the Linwood area, and we're going to do a kit with these 3 different flowers that will coordinate. We'll have several different kits available. We'll teach you how to do all those. It's also our American Crafts giveaway weekend, so it's going to be a party down here. Treats, demos, prizes. Really fun. Hope to see you. Thanks.